Imagine how lucky you'd feel if you won the lottery. Your life would change forever. You're probably getting excited just thinking about it. Now imagine how you'd feel if you won the lottery not once, not twice, not even 3 times, but 14 separate times. You would feel like the luckiest man in the world. Well, this is the story of the luckiest man in the world. And I have to use air quotes when I say that because this man in particular didn't rely on a 4-leaf clover or a lucky pair of underpants. No. This man just relied on his simple yet very advanced knowledge of mathematics. And not only did he win the lottery 14 times, but he won the lottery 14 times without breaking a single law. This story is the story of a Romanian man named Stefan Mandel. The first time he ever won the lottery was in his home country of Romania. At the time, he was just making £67 per month, even though he was a college-educated economist. His country was under the control of the Soviet Union, the communist control of the Soviet Union, so most people struggled just to survive. Many turned to crime in order for a chance of a better life, but Stefan turned to his advanced knowledge of maths. He figured out a system that would guarantee he could win the lottery, and it would guarantee he would win the lottery every single time. The only problem for Stefan was that for his method to succeed, he would need a lot of money. You see, when it comes to the lottery, if you're Stefan Mandel, you want to make a lot of money, you gotta spend a lot of money. So he'd need a lot of startup capital to buy a ton of lottery tickets, but that was fine because Stefan, he had a plan. He'd build a team of investors, people who believed in his abilities and wanted any extra chance to provide for their families, even if it seemed like too much of a risk. But it wasn't. His first win in the 1960s landed Stefan and the syndicate with the top lotto prize at the time worth over £15,000, which doesn't sound like a lot by today's standards, but in communist Romania, it was an awful lot of money. And after paying his teammates, he was left with just £3,000. But that was plenty. It was enough to bribe the officials and escape Romania's communist system. Stefan was absolutely thrilled to be leaving Romania. He was proud of himself. He'd got his family out of a very rough situation, and initially he settled down in Israel, but that's not where he'd settle for long, because eventually he'd come along to Australia, where he was just about to start his brand new life. But not everything was new though, as Stefan kept his habit of winning the lottery going, and he went on to win a further 12 times in Australia alone. His method was surprisingly simple in theory. It can essentially be broken down into 6 simple steps. And I say simple, it's complicated in practice, but simple in theory. Step 1, calculate the total number of possible combinations. For a lottery that requires you to pick 6 numbers from 1 to 40, that means 3,838,380 possible combinations. Step 2, find lotteries where the jackpot is 3 times or more the number of possible combinations. Step 3, raise enough cash to buy a ticket for every single combination. Mandel, for example, in one of his later attempts, which we'll go into in a moment, raised money from over 2,524 different investors to push for the win. Step 4, print out millions of lottery tickets with every combination. Now, this is a key part of the plan. Obviously, nowadays, when you're filling out a lottery ticket in the store, you have to use the pre-set tickets that are there in the store. Back then, it was perfectly legal to print off a blank ticket, fill it out, and then take it to the store and pay for it there. This, of course, can no longer be done nowadays. Step 5, deliver the tickets to those authorized lottery dealers. And step 6 is win the cash and, of course, pay your investors. You have to pay the investors, otherwise you won't be able to do this again. For example, in one of his final lottery wins in Australia, Mandel pocketed over $97,000, which is £74,000, after a $1.3 million win, which is about £1 million, and that was in 1987. £74,000, a lot of money, but not enough for Stefan Mandel. But all good things must come to an end, and eventually Australia got wise to his lottery winning ways and changed the laws to make sure that, for example, no one man could simply buy up every single lottery ticket. And even though he'd made a decent amount of money, Stefan had his eyes on one last big score. But with Australia's lottery now impossible to crack, he set his sights on the good old US of A, land of the free. By this point, Stefan had built up quite a reputation and had also built up quite a team. So he sent his scouts out about the United States, trying to find the best possible place to put on the lottery. And in America, Stefan found his perfect target, Virginia. Unlike other states whose lottery numbers typically went from 1 to 54, Virginia's lottery went from 1 to 44, meaning he'd have to buy significantly less lottery tickets to guarantee himself and his team of investors the jackpot. So with only 6 picks of numbers from 1 to 44, that meant that there were only 7,059,052 possible combinations. And at $1 per ticket, I'll let you do the math and figure out how much money you would need to spend. Okay, for the slow people out there, it's $7,059,052. 7 million is a very large number. It's a large amount of money, and it's also a very, very large amount of tickets to have to print off. But Stefan and his team managed to do it. They had a warehouse, they had printing machines, and oh boy did they get to work. And it took 3 months to print off every single lottery ticket combination. But they did it, and then they shipped them off to a separate team, a team whose sole purpose was to buy those tickets when Stefan felt the jackpot was at the perfect number to enact his plan. That, by the way, is no easy feat in itself. To buy 7 million lottery tickets, although perfectly legal, raises some eyebrows, and it certainly doesn't please the poor store clerks who have to actually run those through the machine. So the team separated, purchasing hundreds of thousands of tickets at each location. But eventually, when Stefan would give the order, they would get it done successfully. Stefan watched the Virginia lottery jackpot numbers like a hawk, waiting for the perfect opportunity, the perfect day. And eventually, that day came. It was a Wednesday, and the jackpot had reached $15.5 million. So Stefan gave the order. By the time the Saturday draw came around, the jackpot was now up to $27 million. Not only did Mandel and his team win the $27 million jackpot, they also took home an extra $900K in secondary prizes, taking the jackpot up to almost $28 million. Not a bad return for $7 million. And that was the last time that Stefan ever won the lottery. Now, don't be getting any ideas if you've been watching this video. Although what Stefan did was perfectly legal at the time, the laws and the rules have now changed. There's always someone that has to ruin it for the rest of us. If you like this video and if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below just telling me what sort of stories you'd like me to cover next. And if you enjoyed the video, I really appreciate you sticking around this long, so please do subscribe because I have many more stories to come.